Hello and welcome back. This is Sherry with Heart and Soulful in the studio today. And it's been just over a week since my last video, but I wanted to have something interesting to show. And once I had finished with this back cover, I kind of wanted to regroup a little bit. So if you're just joining me for the very first time, welcome. I hope if you enjoyed this video that you will give me a thumbs up and hit subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. And if you have been following along on this journey with me, thank you so much. I know it's, I think we're into 15 videos for this one now, but it was one of those projects where I had no idea where it was going to go, and I wanted to break it apart into just learning new things as I go. So I'm fairly new to all of this. If you've been watching, I've had my channel since August, I guess, and I've only been paper crafting and junk journaling and all of that since about May or June. So I started this channel just so that I could share the new things that I was learning with my Facebook page, and it kind of has blossomed into this fun thing to do, and I've got quite a few people that are subscribing, so thank you. I am also, in doing this journal, challenging myself to use just book page for my decorative papers, no paper packs or digikits or anything like that. I have to create everything from scratch using just recycled book pages. And someone had asked if I would do a stacked envelope junk journal tutorial again, so that's the format that I've done this one in. So it is basically a file folder and 6 envelopes that just kind of open on each other. And so that was the format that I decided to do this one. I've got about 15 videos in this series, so they all are broken down into just fun little projects. And one of the recent ones that was kind of a big deal for me to figure out was the back cover. It is taking a little wear and tear. I'm not sure I'm loving where I hung my luggage tag, and if I weren't challenging myself with this challenge, I would use probably something like ribbon or a real piece of leather or something for here. I may change that. So if you've been following along, you know that I didn't really have a plan when I started this at all. I didn't have a theme or what the journal was going to be about as far as subject matter. So I have decided I'm doing a very colorful bohemian style exotic travel journal. And once I got that idea, it became more fun because I could think of things to put in it that I have never done because I've never done a travel journal before. So I will put the link to this entire series in the description so that if you want to watch it from the beginning, you can. And then also I'm doing a drawing for this one because I had reached 1,000 subscribers. Now we're over 1,500 already. So I decided as a thank you, I would do a drawing, and I don't know when it's gonna end. Once this journal is complete, I'll pick an end date. And basically to get entered, you just need to write something in a comment. It could be on any one of these videos in the series. So you can go back and watch the original ones and leave a comment. So that will get you entered. And then the prize is gonna be, I'm gonna call it Happy Mail because I've seen that term around. And it's going to be a package of all kinds of things from this this project. So my mixed media papers, the beads I've made, maybe a resin feather, you know, little insert things that I've had extras because I try to prep all my tutorials ahead of time. So I have extra samples and that kind of thing. So it's going to be a package of all that. So if you're doing a journal like this or want to, it would be a fun package to get because you'll have a head start. So just put that in the comments and then you'll get entered. Okay, so today I wanted to share, first off, I'm going to share something that I have been working on that took a few days. In addition to learning all this paper craft and things, I have a Cricut maker, and I just signed up recently for Adobe Illustrator. I'd never used it before. So I'm also learning those two things, trying to kind of package up kind of downloads and printables that you can use. And I'm just learning how to do all that. So I have a folder that I will also put in the description where you can go and get all the free downloads. One of them is a prompt list that I came up with, just kind of a list of things that I would maybe want in a travel journal, things that I might collect or bring back when I've been traveling that I can include in this. And what I've been doing is kind of translating that to paper craft and mixed media. So for example, I did a passport, but I did it in the style of my journal. So that kind of thing. So this list is available on that downloadables. And then in my passport, I had printed out off the internet this free outline of a world map that you could use. I've used it in some of the projects, so you can see that. And in fact, I used it in one I'm going to show you today. So that is also in my downloads. And then I had done the carpet bag instructions. I've improved on it a little bit. So I have that available also. You'll want to watch this video because it's really, this is just kind of to go along with that video. I don't know that it would be clear enough from just these instructions without watching the video how to put it together. So, but this is just kind of an additional little reminder sheet. And then with that, I also had done the carpet bag template for the pieces on the back of the bag, the different flaps. And it's based on the size of mine, so you can do it approximate. But this is just something you can actually print and cut these out as patterns if you want. And then I also did a tutorial on a boarding pass. I designed this in Adobe Illustrator. So it's my own design. And then you can cut these out and use them for journaling cards and that kind of thing. So I have that is also in the freebies. And then I took a few days, this was a little more of a project than I thought it would be, to get all of my mixed media papers that I had done scanned in. And these, I went ahead and scanned them in their original size because they were all made on book page. So I put 2 on a sheet. I'm toying with the idea of scanning each one individually also, or just maybe cropping from here and then making it larger. So I haven't decided yet, but I have all of the papers now scanned in. And I had to adjust the colors because they were so bright and vibrant to try to get them to translate into a format that could be printed in a nice quality. And I did have a suggestion that rather than printing it on the cheap paper I was using to get some better paper, this is maybe a little step up from what I was using, but still not as, it's not the one that was recommended. I don't have a local office supply place. I need to go to the adjoining town to do that. So I need to do that or order it from online or something. But so I haven't listed these yet. I will probably list this whole package for sale on my Etsy shop, but I just haven't gotten to that point yet. I'm not really sure what to even charge. I need to do a little research on that. So at some point, I'm hoping that those will be available. And I wanted to do that because I was coming up with some scraps just from already working on this project. So I wanted to do some master boards, and I'll maybe do a tutorial on that too. But this is my copy of my master board, and that's my original. And you can see how bold and vibrant these colors are. So trying to get those to translate into this printed version was a little bit of a challenge for me. They could probably use a little bit more work, but I'm gonna try getting some even better paper and seeing how that comes out. Or you can always take them to a copy place and have it professionally done, and then they would maybe be a better quality. I know on photo paper, when I've done this in the past, they come out pretty true to color, but then I haven't found any that aren't glossy. So I'm still working on that, but I just wanted to share with you that I have been working on that because I know a lot of people have asked about the papers and would maybe like to be able to get them. So that was what I have been working on for the last week. The other thing that I did is I got finally figured out how to make sticker sheets with those travel quotes that I had. I had to order some paper that had a solid backing. So I've done that now too and gotten those to a place where I'm happy. I did these on Adobe Illustrator and then used my Cricut to cut them out where they're still on the sticky back paper. So I will probably list these as sheets once I figure out maybe the best way to ship these, that I will have on my Etsy shop also. And I may do just a downloadable, just a freebie where you can just cut them out yourself and not have them on sticker paper. So I'll think about that too. So that is what I have been working on, but I did also then move forward on my book. So I actually have pre-finished some 3 pages actually that I'm just going to glue down today, but I'm going to go through what I did on them and maybe do just a little demo on some things that maybe I haven't shown before. So this first sheet, I had done this one already. So this first inside cover, I'm kind of wanting to get this whole journal moving along. So I went ahead and like I said, pre-fabricated everything that I'll then glue down. So how I went about it, because when I first started this journal, I didn't know what theme it was going to be or how it was going to end up. And I wanted to do a full tutorial on putting it together. I went ahead and covered everything with my book page except for this back page ahead. So I'm only pointing that out because under these layers are just the envelopes that we used. So if you know your theme already, and maybe you're doing the book page challenge or not, you could wait until you have this complete part finished and then just attach it to your envelope instead of having this extra layer of book page. It's making my journal a lot bulkier than I'd like, but that's because of the way that I approached this project. So in order to get this on here, I could have maybe adhered things right to my envelope page that's already covered, but I like to do stitching around things, so I needed a base. So I basically took this same shape with my little notch and made myself just a pattern out of book page, so that way I can glue the whole thing down. So this is really just one layer of book page, and then I'll get my little inserts out of here. And I wanted to use up scraps, so there's a couple of ways I could have done this little stepped little tuck spots. I could have done a piece that fit the bottom for my first short piece. And then the second one, I could have made this entire length. The other thing I could have done is not glued the bottom, and you don't see this in here anyway, so it could have went all the way through. I didn't think of that until I had already glued it down. So I'm just pointing that out because there's more than one way to do things. So I just used 3 strips. This one was just enough wider that I could kind of hide it behind the first one. So the top one I glued to my book page first. And then my second one I wanted to leave at the top and these two open. So I went ahead and took it to my sewing machine and sewed that one stitch line across the tops of these two because they weren't going to be glued down. Okay. And then after I had done those stitching on the top, I could glue those down to my actual pattern. So I did that. So I just have this 3 little stacked strips. And then I just went again to my sewing machine and stitched around the whole thing so it would be consistently stitched around. And the color I used, I know it's hard to see. And then of course I just used my Vintage Photo Distress Oxide and my little dauber, and I just went around the edges of everything. And now I'm ready to glue this down. Now I'm going to remove this just so I don't get glue on it. Now, normally when I've been putting 2 sheets of book page together, I've just been using glue stick. I've used this Elmer's washable. I really like this one because it's purple. You can see exactly how much and where you have the glue stick, and it's really dry. And I like that because when I'm gluing something as thin as book page together, if you get it too wet, it gets ripply, and I just don't like that. So I want it to stay flat. So I have found that this is the best glue for me. Now, somebody had mentioned Scotch brand, which I did finally buy some, and I tried it, and it's a little wetter, and so it would get kind of that waviness. So I ended up liking this more. I'll still use that for something, but I'm just pointing that out because now I have tried the Scotch brand. And maybe where you live, you like it, but I'm very dry here in the high desert. And I still like this one because it's very dry when it goes on. If I get parts that aren't stuck down as good, then I can just use my fine line applicator that I keep Mod Podge in and get any little bits. I did decide though, for gluing down an entire page like this when it's covered with something thicker, that I could use a wet glue because I want it to be really stuck down well. So I'm going to do that today. Now, one thing that I didn't mention is when I did these strip pockets, in case you're watching this for the very first time, I had made all of my own mixed media paper. I'm calling them mixed media style just because that's kind of the style I painted them in, but they are all made from book page. And when I did them, I didn't gesso them first because I wanted to see book text through there as like a freebie layer of my art. And I've left them mostly in one layer, but when I go to use them in my book, I've thickened them up depending on what I'm going to use them for. So in this case, I could use one layer on this top one because it was just getting glued to a page. These other two layers are going to be pockets. So I wanted them to be more durable along this edge. If I tried to use something as thin as this, when you go in and out of it, it's going to tear just because it's a thin layer. So for these two, I've found that for pockets, I like 3 layers of book page for just the strength. So that's what I did on those. So now I'm going to just go ahead and glue these down. And the other glue that I finally broke down and ordered because I want to try some different things is I finally got this art glitter glue. Everybody was talking about how wonderful it was, and I really do like it. I had seen some other people buying this just to have this bottle because of this tip, and then once it's empty, you can just replace it with whatever glue if you don't want to spend the money on the art glitter glue. I think the one that I saw that was Love in Her Bottle had put fabric glue in it or something. But so I don't know what I'll do, but I really like this glue. It is, I would say, stickier. It's a thicker, stickier maybe. It dries quick, and I like that. So I just feel like things, get stuck down really well and quickly and all of that. Now, again, I don't know if it's because I'm in a really dry climate or not, but for me, it just works really well. Now this top is like a little metal top, and it's kind of like my fine line applicator, but not as fine. And then it came with this little pin that just, you put this in there instead of a lid to it, a cap. And I've been using it for a few days now, and it seems to be working out fine. So you can use your finger or just kind of spread this out a little bit to get it everywhere. And it's already drying here, so we'll see if this is going to work. So I'm just going to stick it down, lining up my notch. You'll notice I'm not working on a craft mat today. I finally have been ordering some new things for myself for Valentine's Day, and I got a couple of new toys. One I'll show later on, maybe not today. But one of the things I had ordered was Tim Holtz has a craft mat that has like the grid, and it's really nice. And I'm enjoying working with that. But for filming, it has a horrible glare. So I opted for craft paper just so that I don't have to work in the dark or have a glare on a reflection. So that's stuck down really well, just like that already. So I have that. And then the next thing I wanted just to do a little couple things to put inside. I have made these before on another tutorial. Again, they're about 3 layers of book page and then just my mixed media paper. And it's just a little ticket. Tickets are one of the things I have on my list. And originally for this page, I thought it'd be fun to have a ticket for each place that I went and put the date that I went up here. You've seen me do that before. Where'd it go here? On these little tickets, I put the date of my trip at the top for the ticket number, and then just drew the little square, and then this is for journaling. So that was my original idea, but there were going to be too many tickets in here. It was going to be too bulky, so I had another idea. So I've gone ahead and made one ticket, and this one I added a little string for a tag. We'll put that one there. And then I did another ticket, same thing, only this one I put one of my little quotes on it just to decorate it up a little bit. And some of my things I might decorate more later, but for right now, I'm just kind of trying to do new interesting things. So one of the things that I came up with then, since I didn't want to put, you know, 10 or 12 tickets in here, it would make it too thick, is I went ahead and I printed out a map. It's just a little map, and I actually had this, so I just copied something I had, but it had all the places that I went. So I just put it in my Adobe Illustrator and added the dates that I was there. And then I just kind of folded it. It's not a square, so origami, and I'm a challenged at that, but I just kind of started folding it to put in my book, and I thought I could kind of fold it into a little paper airplane shape. And that has all my little places that I went. So that was just another kind of silly little thing to put in there, but it's another memory. You can write on the back of it, but that's just a quick little easy page. And then we have the passport. We have a little scrapbook that I had made, and then I jumped over here to the other side. So we'll start. You can see my book is getting really thick, and I keep wanting to add things that are thick, but oh well, that's just how it's going to be. So my next one, I had already done this front page, and I've got mine clipped on here. I'll take those off. So I had this already finished, and this was another tutorial with the boarding pass ideas. So I had done that. I needed something for this side. So again, I just made my book page template for my pattern, and then I just used it as my base. And this was kind of a happy accident, I guess. I had chosen this piece of paper to go on the cover, and I didn't really intend for it to be a pocket. Again, I didn't really want to bulk my book up too much, and I have this as a pocket. But when I did my measurement and cut, I measured wrong when I cut it. So I had the little strip, and it was a little wider. So I went ahead and just fudged it and made it into a little pocket. Again, this layer, because it's a pocket, I made it thicker, where this one I could leave thin. So I think for this one I had already made the whole piece of paper thicker, so it is thick. But so I just made that little pocket, and then I had made this little embellishment. You can see it's kind of, I didn't glue it down all the way. It's just a punch that is a flower punch. I did 2 layers of it for the outside, and then I have a smaller flower punch that I did for the inside. And then I just, I had made them out of my mixed media paper, so they were already painted, but then I just added some more gold and stuff to it, and then a little embellishment. So I didn't glue it down flat because I kind of wanted it to look a little 3-dimensional. So that's really the only embellishment on it that I've done. My papers are kind of so busy already that I'm kind of being timid about going and adding too many embellishments right off the bat, because I kind of want to see how the whole thing ends up at the end. So I'm just going to glue this one down too. And just lots of this art glitter glue. You could use Mod Podge for this. I had been using Mod Podge to do this part before I bought this glue, but honestly, this one is drier and stickier. And so I kind of like that, because Mod Podge being thinner, it will make your page ripple. And you can see this doesn't really wet my paper. It is already almost dry. So I like how fast it is. In fact, I better get this part lined up right off the bat, because I don't think I'll have a second chance at it. So I don't know where you live, if you live in a humid climate, if your glue does not dry that fast. I mean, mine dried so fast that I think I need to add a little bit over here, because it's already not It's already not sticking. Just pushing that down because it's going to dry so fast. And again, you can use, a lot of times I'll use these bulldog clips. When I was using the Mod Podge, I really needed to use those because it took maybe a minute instead of 30 seconds to dry. In this way, it just gives you a nice clamping. It gives you a nice seal on those edges. So we'll do this for now and see if that helps me stick down a little bit. And then I can show you what I did to tuck in there. Let's do one more. Okay, I'm going to set that aside for just a second, let that dry. Get my pin back in here. Okay, so I have that page. And then to tuck inside of this, I had this thing that I had brought home from a trip that I loved for one of these books. So I finally found a spot, since I had made that pocket accidentally, a place that I can put that. Now I don't know if it's going to end up going in there because it was making my book very thick, but I also had, this is one of the little ticket portions from my boarding pass, the stub. And so I'm just going to put that in there. And then I am going to use the other half of the stub, I think, for a pocket somewhere else. So I'm not going to put that in there. But the idea that I had that I stole, actually, where is my little original? So I had brought this back from the Taj Mahal, and I just loved it. It's a tiny little, like credit card size, maybe smaller than a credit card. And it's just this little fold out brochure kind of thing. But I just liked the way that it was so pocket sized. So, you know, it has all this brochure information on one side and then a map on the other side. So I just really liked how that folded up in there that way. So I decided I wanted to make something like this for my journal. So to do that, I've done two of them because I wanted to show you how I put one together. And I did the second one a little bit different than the first one. So I ended up using, because I wanted it to be something to journal on, I just took a piece of my coffee stain paper that's a graph on one side and then lines on the other side. And I just kind of measured a similar size that I could make using this paper. When I did that, I ended up just kind of measuring it and then dividing it by 5 to get me kind of the width that I wanted. And I'm pointing that out because when I did that, one side is on the lined paper, but the way you put this together is you put the other card, the other cover on the other end. And when I did that, I was on the graph side then. So my second idea, I wanted to print something on this. You'll understand in a minute when I show you the other one. But I needed to have an even number of accordion folds, not an odd number. So I'll show that in the second one. So you can do it either way, depending on what you're doing. But I ended up printing a map on one side, which meant my card's going to cover part of my map. So if you want to leave a blank page that you can write on both, or if this were maybe brochure pictures or something like that you wanted out, or maybe you did use a brochure, then you might want it to be the even number that you needed. So basically I just folded it accordion style one way and then in thirds the other way. And then I measured for my cover just a tiny bit like you would a book, just a tiny bit bigger than my folded paper. And again, this is 3 layers, maybe even 4 for my cover. And it's again just my mixed media paper. And then I stitched around the edge and inked around the edge. And then I'm going to show you how where you glue those on to give it this shape. I went ahead and added one of my little little sayings. So I'll do that on the other one. So for this one, I had figured out once I did that, I needed it to be the same paper, the same side of the paper on the front and the back for my cover. And that's what I had done wrong on the first one. It's not wrong if you didn't want to print, but I wanted to print my map on the inside. So I took that same map that I had used for my passport, the one that I have the free download for, and I just put my coffee stain paper into my printer and printed it right onto that. So I have my little fold. I'm going to end up with my lines on the front and on the back, and that's where my covers are going to go. So one thing I did on this one, because you know it is kind of bulky by the time you have that thick of folds, and for this kind of journal you want it to be really thin as possible. So I actually ironed the heck out of this paper, and I ironed it once I had my folds this way, and then once I had my fold this way, and you can maybe put them under some books just to get it to be as thin as possible. So you want to do that for sure. This one you can see is not as thin. And then I went ahead and pre-made, again, with 3 or 4 layers, my mixed media paper. And then I've gone ahead just for time and stitched it and inked it already. So I'm going to go ahead, and then to do my little label, I just want to pick one of these. Let's see. Maybe this one. Maybe not that one. I want a shorter one. Let's see. Bring back into your laptop. Oh, this one. We'll do this one. So it's pretty sticky. I could just stick that on there, but I want to decorate it up a little bit. So I'm going to just I want to cut it down. These are my little decal scissors. I'm just going to cut it down as small as possible. And this sticker paper that I got is so sticky that I learned, do not stick it on your glass craft mat. I did that, and then I walked away for just a minute, and when I came back, I could hardly get it up. I had to wet it to get it off that mat. And when I say craft mat, I mean the Tim Holtz glass one. The craft mat, the wipeable part, it will come off of that. So if you need to stick it somewhere while you're inking or something like that, use that Teflon kind of craft mat, and it'll come up. I'm just going to try to hold this in my hand so that because I'm working on paper, it will stick. Okay, so I have my little thing, and then I want to, where's my ink? See if I can do this just in my hand. And these are not waterproof, so I learned the hard way, is why I'm mentioning it. If you do end up ordering these stickers from me and want to ink them, inking's fine, but I went and tried to use my sparkle spray that I always like, and it made my ink run too much. So you have to be careful, or even if you're like using a baby wipe or something like that, you want to be careful. So I have that, and then I think I want to stick it on another piece of, let's see, where am I going to put it? I think that one there. I want it on that side now. So I'm just going to stick this onto another piece. And then you can glue this on, or I have my Xyron sticker maker you've seen me use. I can, in case you're new, maybe I'll show that again. I need to buy a wider one. I understand they come in, this is 2.5 inch. It's a Xyron sticker maker. Or they come in 5 inch, which I was gonna order, and then someone said they come in 12 inch. I don't know that I need the 12 inch. That might be a little much. But who knew? Uh-oh, I almost think it was either stuck or I'm at the very end of my roll. So we'll see if that even worked. That was the very end. So I think I have enough sticky on there to do it, but now I need to trim off this extra weird piece. Okay, now I have sticky everywhere. Uh-oh. Yeah, it's not gonna, we're gonna pretend this is good enough for now. Let's see, we'll put it on here. Okay, so that's decorated up a little bit. And now I just need to glue that onto my paper. So I'm just gonna pick one end. Let's see if this is gonna be the front. Where's my map? That's kind of right side up. So I'm just gonna glue this to one side. You can use a glue stick. You can use something stickier like the art glitter glue. I'm gonna go ahead and use this because I want it stuck down really well. And because this is my smaller piece, I'm gonna go ahead and put it on this. Okay, already stuck just like that. Okay, and then this piece is going to have my back cover. So I want to make sure they're lined up. And again, this dries so fast, I probably will only get one shot. Sticker paper stuck to me still. It's fussy stuff. Okay, I have a little thread hanging here. Okay, and there you have a little book. I just really thought that was cute, how it kind of accordions and goes together. So someone else has probably done something like this, but this way you have your map, and then you can pinpoint the different locations and mark where you've been or where you want to go. Maybe this one is the bucket list, and you put all the places you'd like to go and list them on the back, kind of thing. And then one can be where you've been. So I had made this to go get my pin and my glue so I don't ruin the tip. Yes, you don't want to wait because now my pin didn't want to go back in. Okay, let's see if she's all stuck down. Pretty good. I think I might want a little bit on that edge. That one I couldn't clamp, but we can do that later. So I have my other little thing that I wanted to add in here, and it's cute in there, but it made my book a little bit bulky. So I'm not sure it'll stay there. We'll see. I also made a couple of more tickets that I can put in there too. Just something like that that'll stick out. So that's cute too. We'll see. It can all get rearranged. Okay, so I have that one and I have this one. And then I had this long skinny pocket. And I really liked this piece of paper for it. And it was too narrow. So I decided I'm just gonna go ahead because I really liked this piece here. And I just used a scrap to fill in the rest of it. And so why not go ahead and make it a pocket? So I just cut this to fit, and then it's glued all here. And I just made this piece. I added a square to make it a little bit thicker. It's a pretty tight pocket anyway. but I went ahead and just, why not make it a pocket? So I did that, and then the next thing I wanted to show is going to be this side, and I decided to use, I've done tickets and passports and boarding passes and maps and the little brochure kind of thing. So I wanted to use some more currency. So I decided to make some tickets out of my currency. So these are just a couple of little journaling tickets that can go in here. I could put one of the larger ones in there too, that'll fit. And actually, even this little book will fit if it's not too thick. So it just depends on how thick I want my book to get. So I'll put those in there for now. And then, so my back side, I wanted to also do something with currency. So I took my whole pile of currency that I've showed before. So when you travel places, you know, I mean, if you're traveling overseas, I like to just collect the currency from different places because it's kind of a cheap souvenir and they're really colorful and totally different than ours. So I've done that, and then I scanned them into my computer and printed them out. I've printed them out in the past. I've printed them on tissue paper. You've seen me do that before, where I've printed them on tissue and then use them for decoupage. So I had done that on some, so I decided to do some experiments. So I took one piece that I had and just decoupaged it right to my book page. So this is just one layer. It's pretty thin and flimsy, but I did go ahead and paint the gesso on one side 2 coats just to make it writable. So this, my first thought was, oh, my husband always used a money clip. So I haven't done it yet, but I'm thinking it would be kind of cute because this one is thin, that I can go ahead maybe and make a few and then make a cute clip for a money clip. That would be an idea to tuck somewhere. So I haven't done that yet, but that's happening. And then I went ahead and I did another one that was just the actual photocopy onto just regular copy paper. So I scanned them in, and then I photocopy them, and then I can just cut them out as I need it. So I'm gonna do a little, because I did some experiments, I'm gonna do kind of what I thought was my favorite way to do it with adding it to a piece of book page and doing the gesso. So this one's finished, and I'm going to do one that I've just cut out. So we'll do this one. So to me, there's a couple of things. I know it seems like a no-brainer, but I found that I don't like, when I'm writing on something, I don't want it to be ripply, and this one's a little bit ripply. And you've seen me iron them before. Well, what happens is you can iron 2 pieces of book page with a glue stick in between, and it works out okay. If you iron it too much, it'll actually dry it out too much, and you'll have to add glue. But I did find that if you do that on a paper that already has gesso on it, there's glue in gesso and moisture. So when you iron that too much, you actually will get it ripply. And I don't like that if it's gonna be something I write on. So the best way that I found to do this is go ahead and use your glue stick. Use a larger piece of paper than the currency or whatever it is you're gonna stick on it. So I'm gonna just do like I usually do and start at one end and stick that down. And I need my little credit card. I like doing this because I get it all stuck down everywhere instead of trying to work on an edge, then cleaning off my mat and going through that whole thing. Bigger is better, and I can trim it down later. So I just kind of work my way down. And this way I don't care if I get a little glue outside the edges, it's gonna dry and get trimmed off. Okay, so this is really nice and flat, no bubbles. I used a very dry glue stick so that, you know, I didn't have to introduce too much liquid to my old paper. And then if I want to, I can iron this I'm not going to do this when I found I didn't even really need to. With just one layer and using a dry glue stick. Now, if you use that Scotch brand, it's a little wetter and you might need to iron the moisture out of it. Okay, so this one's fine. And then I figured if I let it dry, let it sit aside and dry, it's easier to cut later. But before I do that, this was my next tip that I found worked out better. I have a hard time when I want to put gesso on the other side of something, if I've already decorated it, and sometimes that happens because I found that if I already have the gesso on and then I glue my decorative part to it, if I need to iron it, it gets bubbly. So I found that if I do it onto my book page first and then gesso it, I don't get all those little ripples. The key is you have to let it dry in between. So this is pretty dry. For the sake of this, I'm just going to go ahead and go for it. So I'm going to take my Liquitex gesso, and this one is the professional quality. I had used the cheap one, and it works also, but you need more coats. So I found that if I use this professional quality one, I use less gesso. It's a little thicker. So when you have your paper big, the thing that I was finding hard to do would be if I would lay this down on my glass mat and I would, do this, I end up getting a little bit of gesso on my decorative side, and then I don't want that. And I end up making a mess, and that just might be me. I'm just very messy. So I found if I leave my book page too big, I can go outside the edges and it's fine. So I put a little bit in my thing. You can do it on a craft mat or something, but I'm not going to pour it right on here because I don't want any more moisture than I have to have. Again, that's the whole thing about getting the ripples is it's too wet. So I found that if I just do this and I can go outside my edges, I can get a really nice even layer and then let that totally dry on its own. If I use my heat gun or something like that, I'm heating up the glue inside of it. There's a little glue in there, and that'll make it bubble. So I found that it's better to just let it dry naturally, then do a second coat. But you can see how this professional quality, I could just do that and it would be writable. 2 coats, I see less of my book page through there. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of leave it at this one. But I wanted to show you how I do it on the book page that's bigger than my currency. So I'm going to just set that aside. I'm a little froggy again today. These allergies. It's one thing about living in the mountains is everybody has bad allergies here. Okay, so I have done some currency, and I went ahead and did some ahead of time. And so these were all done the way I just showed you. And you can see there's no lumps, no bumps, nothing. It's just perfectly smooth to write on. So I went ahead and just because I want them to look like, cards instead of that I'm printing money, I went ahead and rounded my edges, my corners, and then did my vintage photo around the edges inking. So then I decided, okay, I'm gonna need some place to put these. And there were all kinds of, I could have put them here. I could have, put them here. I could have made a different kind of pocket. But after I kind of got to looking at this page, I thought it'd be fun if they just kind of tucked in like a belly band. Well, after I kind of started cutting paper, I liked this one because it had a little bit of currency on it. I decided kind of a wallet sort of envelope thing would be kind of neat because it's for currency. So I ended up again just using book page as my kind of my pattern, and because I needed to it was kind of an afterthought for me, and I had already cut some paper. I needed to reinforce this side and this side because it's a pocket. So I ended up reinforcing this one, and then used my back paper to reinforce this one. So I glued it to here. It wasn't quite big enough to go all the way across. So I ended up using a couple of pieces of paper. You can see that those are 2 different pieces, so that I had one here and one here. And then I just stitched it around the edge. You know, this one before I glued it down, glued and stitched this again. And now I'm just ready to glue it in there. Now I've thought about decorating this up. And again, I may do that. I've been collecting little things here in my box. And I tried a couple of different things, but I'm afraid to commit to anything because I really kind of liked this. I kind of liked this on there, and I know what paper I want to use here, which is buried here somewhere, I think. I'm thinking I want to put this one here, and I really like this, but you know, I might want to use it somewhere else too. This was one of the little pieces I made very early on where I did some slow stitching and different things on. So I don't know, that could end up there. So I'm going to decorate this later, but I'm going to go ahead and glue it in now just to get it one more thing finished. So I'm going to use my, now that I bent my needle, my pin, I'm going to just go ahead and stick this down too. I really do like this glue. I haven't kind of done the math to see other people I say it's expensive, so I haven't price compared it, but it is really, really good for quickly and strongly sticking things down. So there's my wallet. And maybe if I didn't have this in here, my fan, I would be able to flatten it out better. It's nice that it dries so fast because I literally can just hold that edge that's hard to stick down just for a few seconds, and it's going to be in there. And I like how dry it is because it, you know, when you're working with this old book page, it doesn't take much to soak in liquid-wise, to soak in and make your paper ripply. Now using cardstocks and other decorative paper packs, that kind of thing, I don't think you'd have that problem. It's because I'm only working with old book page that it soaks in. So I've had to kind of be particular about which glues I use for what. Okay, so that's pretty good. It's stuck. I may want to go back and, you know, add a little to that edge. That's where the fine line applicator is good, but I can do that later. So I have a little spot for my currency. We'll decorate that later. So I'm kind of moving along here and getting some things finished up. So I have that. I have like 3 more pages, 3 more envelopes that I need to do, and then we'll be finished with this book. So I hope that you enjoyed that little video. If I forgot anything or wasn't clear on anything, leave me a comment, and leave one anyway, and you'll get listed in that drawing that I'm going to do. So have a great rest of your day. Now go make something. Bye.